The love letter that answered back. I never expected to receive a love letter, not in this digital age where confessions are typed, deleted, and rewritten 100 times before they're sent. But there it was, waiting for me in my mailbox on Valentine's morning, an envelope made of thick crimson paper with my name written in elegant cursive. No return address, no postage stamp. Someone had placed it there by hand. I almost threw it away, assuming it was a prank. But something about the way my name was written, deliberate, almost possessive, made me curious. I stepped inside, shut the door, and tore the envelope open. The scent of roses filled the air. "You looked so handsome last night. I loved watching you sit by the window, lost in your thoughts. You always seem so deep in your mind, so unaware of how much I adore you." My skin prickled. Last night? I'd been home all evening, reading in my apartment. The only time I had gone near the window was to shut the curtains. Someone had been watching me. I scanned the letter for a signature, but there was none. Just the words, "I'll be seeing you soon." A shiver ran down my spine. I lived alone. No one should have been able to see me unless they had been standing right outside. I hurried to the window, pulling back the curtain just enough to peek outside. The street below was empty, no sign of anyone. I tried to shake it off, convincing myself it was some weird joke, maybe a mistaken delivery, maybe a secret admirer from work. I placed the letter in a drawer and tried to go about my day. That night I heard it, a soft rustling sound. I was in bed, drifting between sleep and wakefulness when the noise pulled me back. It wasn't coming from outside. It was inside my apartment. I sat up, heart pounding, scanning the room. The letter. The drawer where I had placed it was slightly open. My breath caught. I knew I had shut it tight. Swallowing hard, I forced myself to get up and check. The letter was still there, exactly where I had left it. But now there was something new. Another piece of paper, folded neatly beside it. With trembling fingers, I picked it up. The same elegant handwriting stared back at me. "You look so vulnerable when you sleep. I was right there, standing over you. You didn't even notice, did you?" I stumbled back, my legs nearly giving out beneath me. My head snapped toward the bedroom door. Locked. The windows. Also locked. My apartment was on the 3rd floor. There was no way anyone could have gotten inside. And yet, someone had. I barely slept that night. Every shadow in the room stretched too long. Every creak in the floor sounded like approaching footsteps. I sat awake until morning, clutching my phone, ready to call the police. But what would I tell them? That someone left a letter in my drawer? That I felt like I was being watched? By noon, I convinced myself I was overreacting. Maybe I had just missed the second letter the first time. Maybe my paranoia was playing tricks on me. Maybe. That evening, I came home to another envelope, this time slipped under my front door. I stared at it for a long time, afraid to pick it up, but fear wasn't going to protect me. I needed to know what it said. "Why do you keep pretending you don't want this? You read my letters. You think about me. I know you do. You keep your curtains open for me. You want me to see you." I dropped the letter as if it burned me. My curtains had been shut all day. Whoever this was, they weren't just watching me from outside. They were inside. Panic clawed at my throat. I searched every corner of my apartment, checking closets, under the bed, behind the shower curtain. Nothing. I packed a bag and left that night, booking a cheap hotel across town. I needed distance, time to think. But sleep wouldn't come. My phone vibrated at 3:07 a.m. A text, unknown number. "You can't hide from me." I nearly dropped my phone. My breath came in short, panicked gasps. I checked the hotel room door 3 times, making sure it was locked. My mind screamed at me to call someone, anyone. But what would I even say? That a letter was following me? That it knew where I was? I stayed awake, staring at the door until the first rays of dawn slipped through the curtains. I decided to go back home, not because I felt safe, but because I refused to let this thing, whoever it was, chase me away from my own life. The apartment was exactly how I left it. No signs of forced entry, no new letters. Maybe it was over. Maybe the distance had broken whatever sick game this was. For the next 2 days there was nothing. No letters, no texts. The silence was almost worse. It made me feel like I was being lulled into a false sense of security. But on the 3rd day I found another envelope. This time it was on my pillow. "I missed you. Don't leave me again." I ran. I didn't stop until I was in my car, speeding through the streets, hands shaking against the wheel. My mind raced through every possibility. A stalker, a psychopath, a ghost. None of it made sense. I drove to a friend's house, someone I hadn't spoken to in months but knew I could trust. I told him everything. He didn't laugh. He didn't call me crazy. He just listened. Then he asked the question that made my stomach drop. "Are you sure you never wrote those letters yourself?" I wanted to be angry. I wanted to shout at him for even suggesting it. But something in his tone, gentle, cautious, made me hesitate. He pulled out a notebook and handed it to me. "Write something," he said. I frowned, but I did as he asked. My hand moved across the page, the words forming beneath my fingertips. Then my blood turned to ice. The handwriting was identical, perfect cursive. Every letter looped with precision, the same as the letters, the same as the messages. I couldn't breathe. My friend was saying something, his voice distant, but I barely heard him. I flipped back through the notebook, searching, until I found a page filled with writing I didn't remember putting there. "I'll be seeing you soon." My world tilted, my vision blurred, because now I finally understood. The letters weren't coming from someone else. They were coming from me. Story number 2. My girlfriend wasn't in the photo. I never believed in ghosts. Not really. Sure, I had heard stories, watched horror movies that left me sleeping with the lights on for a night or two, but those were just stories. Nothing real. Nothing that could actually happen. That changed on Valentine's night, the night I realized I had been living a lie. It was supposed to be a perfect evening. A quiet dinner, a bottle of wine, and just the two of us, me and Lisa. We had been together for 6 months, and though she was private about her past, I never pushed. She was beautiful in a quiet, haunting way. Dark eyes that always seemed to be hiding something, a voice so soft I sometimes had to lean in to catch her words. But she loved me, I could feel it. The restaurant was dimly lit, candles flickering between us. She smiled at me from across the table, fingers tracing the rim of her wine glass. I wanted to capture the moment, so I took out my phone. "Let's take a picture," I said. She tilted her head, amused, but nodded. I wrapped my arm around her, pulling her close, and snapped the photo. She was warm against me, her perfume faint, but familiar. I checked the screen, ready to post it with some cheesy caption, but my breath caught in my throat. She wasn't there. The photo showed only me, sitting alone at the table, smiling like a fool at nothing. The candlelight flickered in the empty chair beside me. My arm, which had been wrapped around her, hung in midair. I laughed nervously. Weird. Must be a glitch. I turned the phone to show her, but she didn't react. She just stared at the screen, her face unreadable. "Take another," she said softly. I hesitated, but did as she asked. I angled the camera, making sure she was in the frame, and pressed the button. Again, the picture showed only me. I frowned. "What the hell?" I muttered. I checked the lens, wiped it, adjusted the lighting. Still nothing. I tried a video next, thinking maybe the camera just wasn't picking her up in photos. I hit record, waving at the screen. When I played it back, my stomach twisted into knots. It was just me, alone, talking to empty space. A chill crept up my spine. This wasn't possible. I turned to Lisa, heart pounding. "What's going on?" She was staring at me, her expression distant. "I was hoping you wouldn't notice." I forced a laugh. "That's not funny, Lisa." She didn't smile. My mouth went dry. I wanted to reach for her, to prove to myself that she was real. But something held me back. Something deep in my gut told me not to touch her. "Who are you?" I whispered. She sighed, looking past me, as if searching for words that wouldn't come. Then, barely above a whisper, she said, "I used to be here." The room felt suddenly smaller, the air thicker. My head spun with questions I didn't want the answers to. Used to be? My voice cracked. Lisa stood up slowly. The restaurant around us was full of people, yet nobody seemed to notice us. Nobody looked our way. Nobody reacted to the girl standing by my side. "I wanted one more Valentine's Day," she murmured. I felt my pulse in my throat. I grabbed my phone and scrolled back through my gallery. Dozens of photos of us. But as I watched, something impossible happened. One by one, Lisa began to disappear from every picture. Her face blurred, then faded, until only empty spaces remained. A cold sweat broke across my forehead. "No," I whispered, "this isn't happening." Lisa reached out, her fingers inches from mine. "You need to forget me now." The moment she said it, my vision blurred, my head pounded. A wave of dizziness hit me so hard I nearly fell. My memories twisted, unraveling like loose threads. I tried to hold on to them, our first date, our late-night talks, the way she laughed when I messed up cooking breakfast. But they were slipping away, vanishing into the void she was leaving behind. I fought it. I didn't want to forget. I didn't want to lose her. I reached for her. My hand passed right through. A strangled gasp escaped me as my fingers met only air. She was gone. No fading, no slow disappearance. Just gone. I turned frantically, searching for her, but there was nothing. The chair across from me was empty. My wineglass was the only one on the table. The waiter approached, looking at me with concern. "Sir, are you ready for the check?" I blinked. "My girlfriend," my voice broke. "Lisa, did you see her leave?" The waiter frowned. "Sir, you came in alone." I wanted to argue. I wanted to scream, but my mouth wouldn't form the words. I grabbed my phone, scrolling through my contacts. Lisa's name was gone. No texts, no call logs. My heart pounded in my chest as I searched my apartment for any trace of her. Her clothes were gone, her toothbrush, her scent. It was like she had never existed, but I knew. I knew she had been real. I remembered the warmth of her skin, the softness of her voice. And then I saw it. A single photograph remained in my phone, one I didn't remember taking. It was me, standing in front of my mirror, and behind me, just barely visible, was Lisa, not smiling, not looking at the camera, just staring at me. Her face was hollow, her eyes dark, and beneath the image, in the same font as my phone's timestamp, were 3 words. I was here. I dropped the phone. It hit the floor with a sharp crack, but I didn't dare pick it up. The silence in my apartment was suffocating. The lights flickered once, twice, before settling into an eerie stillness. I didn't sleep that night. I don't think I ever will again. Story number 3. The Stranger Who Sent Me Roses. I woke up on Valentine's morning to find a bouquet of black roses on my doorstep. No note, no sender, just a perfectly arranged set of dark, wilting petals wrapped in deep red silk. My stomach twisted. I hadn't given my address to anyone recently. In fact, I hadn't dated anyone in months. At first I thought it might be some sort of prank, maybe a mistake. I looked up and down the hallway of my apartment building, but no one was around. The security cameras at the entrance had been broken for weeks. I picked up the bouquet hesitantly, a strange chill running down my spine. The petals felt dry and brittle, like they had been dead for days. I placed them on my kitchen counter, trying to shake the unease creeping up my neck, but then I saw it. A small card tucked between the stems. My fingers trembled as I pulled it out. The handwriting was delicate, almost too neat. "You looked beautiful last night." I froze. My mind raced. I hadn't gone out last night. I had stayed in, curled up on my couch, watching TV. My curtains had been drawn, my doors locked. Whoever sent this had been watching me. A thick knot formed in my stomach. I checked my phone, scrolling through my messages, my calls. Nothing unusual. I tried to convince myself it was just some weird mistake, maybe a delivery mix-up. But deep down, I knew better. That night I made sure every window was shut tight. I double-checked the locks, but as I lay in bed, my mind wouldn't rest. The words from the note echoed in my head. At 2:47 a.m., I woke up to a faint rustling sound. My heart pounded against my ribs. The noise was coming from the kitchen. I held my breath, forcing myself to listen. It was soft, deliberate, like fingers brushing against fabric. My pulse thundered in my ears as I reached for my phone. The screen glowed in the darkness, my hands clammy as I switched on the flashlight. I crept towards the kitchen, every step cautious. The bouquet still sat on the counter, untouched. But something was different. The petals, once dry and brittle, now looked fresh, almost alive. The silk wrapping had shifted, slightly undone. And there, nestled among the roses, was another card. My throat went dry as I picked it up, barely able to steady my shaking hands. "Why did you close the curtains?" I dropped the card. My vision blurred. My breathing came in short, panicked gasps. Someone had been outside my window, watching, and they had left this, inside my apartment. I spun around, scanning every shadow, every darkened corner. My front door was still locked, the windows shut. But I wasn't alone. I could feel it, a presence, cold and heavy, pressing against my skin. I grabbed my keys and bolted. I didn't stop running until I was outside, standing in the cold night air. My lungs burned, my hands trembling as I dialed my best friend, Mia. She answered groggily, her voice thick with sleep. "Someone was in my apartment," I whispered, barely able to form the words. I stayed at Mia's that night, too afraid to go back. In the morning she convinced me to report it. The police checked my apartment, but there was no sign of forced entry. Nothing stolen, no fingerprints. The roses were gone. The officers exchanged glances before one of them sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "Miss, are you sure you didn't throw them out yourself?" I wanted to scream. Instead, I just nodded, knowing they wouldn't believe me. They left with nothing, and I was back at square one. That night I tried to convince myself it was over. Maybe it had been a sick joke, someone trying to scare me. But deep down, I knew I wasn't safe. At exactly midnight, my phone buzzed. A text. "Did you like my gift?" I felt my blood turn to ice. The number was unknown. I couldn't breathe. My hands hovered over the screen, unsure whether to respond or block the number. Before I could decide, another message appeared. "You shouldn't have left. I don't like being ignored." I choked on a gasp. My fingers moved on their own, typing back, "Who are you?" 3 dots appeared. My chest tightened as I waited for the reply. "Come home and I'll show you." I dropped the phone, my entire body shaking. My mind screamed at me to call someone, anyone, but a deep, paralyzing fear rooted me in place. I stayed at Mia's again that night, but sleep never came. I lay in bed, staring at my phone, waiting for another text that never came. The next morning, against every ounce of logic, I went back to my apartment. The air inside felt heavy, suffocating. I checked every room, my hands shaking, my breath unsteady. Everything looked normal, almost like nothing had happened. But then I saw it. A single black rose on my pillow. No vase, no wrapping, just the flower, resting where my head should have been. My vision swam, my knees buckled. I grabbed my phone, ready to call for help, when I noticed my lock screen had changed. It was a picture, a photo of me, asleep in bed, taken from inside my apartment. My hands went cold. My pulse roared in my ears. I backed away, heart slamming against my ribs, a scream clawing at my throat. Then, in the reflection of my bedroom mirror, I saw him, standing in the doorway, watching me, and he was smiling. Story number 4. My date was dead the whole time. I met Emily on a dating app. Her profile was simple. No flashy bio, no desperate attempts at being funny. Just a few pictures of her smiling softly at the camera, dark hair framing her face, brown eyes that seemed to hold something deeper. There was something about her that pulled me in. I sent her a message, half expecting her not to reply. But she did. We talked for a week before she agreed to meet. Valentine's night. A small, quiet restaurant downtown. I don't like crowded places, she had said. I didn't either. It felt perfect. The moment I walked in, she was already there, sitting at a table in the corner, hands folded neatly on the white tablecloth. She looked exactly like her pictures, soft-spoken, composed, like someone who never quite belonged to the chaos of the world around her. When she saw me, she smiled, but there was something strange about it, like it didn't quite reach her eyes. "I was afraid you wouldn't show," she said. I laughed nervously as I sat down. "I wouldn't do that." Her eyes flickered toward the candle between us, watching the flame dance. "Good. I hate when people disappear." Something about the way she said it sent a strange chill through me. I tried to shake it off. Maybe she had been stood up before. Maybe she was just being playful in a way that didn't quite land. The waiter came and she ordered first. "Just water," she said. I raised an eyebrow. "Not hungry?" She smiled again, that same unreadable expression. "I don't eat much." The conversation was easy, almost too easy. It was like she already knew what I was going to say before I even said it. Every time I shared something about myself, she nodded, almost knowingly, like she had heard it before. I told her about my job, my hobbies, the little quirks that made me who I was. And every time she responded with something eerily familiar. "That's funny," she said at one point, tilting her head. "You remind me so much of someone I used to know." A strange unease settled in my chest. "Oh yeah? Who?" She hesitated. "Just someone I used to talk to." For the first time that night, I felt it. Something was off. Her voice, her mannerisms, even the way she looked at me. It was like she was remembering, not experiencing. Then, somewhere between our conversation and my second glass of wine, she reached out and placed her hand over mine. Her fingers were ice cold. "You have nice hands," she said softly. "Strong, warm." I tried to ignore the way my skin prickled under her touch. "Thanks," I murmured, forcing a smile.
She didn't let go. "Do you believe in ghosts?" she asked suddenly. I blinked. "What?" Her expression didn't change. "Ghosts. Spirits. The idea that some people don't really leave." The air around us felt heavier. The candle flickered. "I don't know," I admitted. "I've never really thought about it." Her fingers twitched against mine. "I think about it all the time." A silence stretched between us. I suddenly felt the urge to check my phone, to break whatever weird moment this was. I pulled it out of my pocket, hoping for a notification, a distraction, anything. That's when I saw it, the date on my screen, February 14th, 2024. My stomach twisted. My heart started pounding, slow and heavy, because I remembered something. A news article I had read a year ago. An accident. A woman named Emily. A woman who had died on Valentine's night. My breath caught in my throat. I lifted my gaze, slowly, afraid of what I would see. Emily was still staring at me, unblinking, her fingers still resting on mine. The restaurant felt suddenly too quiet. I glanced around, looking for the waiter, for any other diners who might have been paying attention to us. But something was wrong. Nobody was looking at her. Nobody had acknowledged her. I swallowed hard. My mouth was dry. "Emily," I started, my voice barely above a whisper. "When did we start talking?" She tilted her head, her fingers tightening around mine. "A week ago. A week ago. February 7th, the anniversary of her death." I felt sick. My vision blurred at the edges. My heartbeat thudded against my ribs like it was trying to escape. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. I yanked my hand away, nearly knocking over my glass. The waiter appeared beside me, startling me. "Sir, are you ready for the check?" I turned to him, frantic, trying to steady my breath. I, yeah, I gestured toward Emily. "She needs to." My words died in my throat. The seat across from me was empty. The candle flickered. My skin crawled. The waiter looked at me, concerned. Sir? I stared at the empty chair, my mind racing. The girl I was with, she was just here. The waiter frowned. Sir, you've been sitting alone all night. I felt my entire body go cold. Number, that's not possible. She was here. We talked. My phone buzzed. My hands were shaking as I lifted it. A new message, from an unknown number. Thank you for giving me one last Valentine's night. I dropped the phone. My breathing was ragged, my chest tight. I scrambled out of my seat, nearly knocking the chair over in my panic. The restaurant spun around me, voices muffled, the world feeling unreal, like I was trapped in some twisted dream. I ran outside, the cold air slamming into me like a wall. My lungs burned as I gasped for breath, my heart hammering in my ears. Then, just as I turned the corner, I saw her. Standing beneath a street lamp, her dark hair cascading over her shoulders, her eyes locked onto mine. She smiled. Not the warm, soft smile she had given me at the table. This one was different. It was knowing. It was final. And then she was gone. Vanished into the night like she had never been there at all. Story number 5. The candlelight dinner that never ended. I should have known something was wrong the moment we stepped inside the restaurant. The air was too still, the dim candlelight flickering unnaturally, stretching shadows across the walls like reaching fingers. The maitre d' greeted us with a smile that never quite reached his eyes, his voice slow and deliberate. A table for 2? Right this way. It was Valentine's night, and I had booked a private dinner at an old, secluded restaurant just outside the city. It had amazing reviews. People raved about the atmosphere, the exclusivity. A night you'll never forget, one reviewer had written. I didn't realize how true that would be. The dining room was small, with only a few other couples seated at their tables. Their faces were cast in shadows, unmoving. I tried to ignore the uneasy feeling creeping up my spine as we were led to a table near the back. The candle at the center of our table burned lower than the others, its wax dripping down the sides like melting flesh. Samantha sat across from me, adjusting the silverware, her fingers brushing the delicate lace tablecloth. It's cozy, she said with a smile, but there was hesitation in her voice. The waiter arrived, tall, thin, his uniform stiff and old-fashioned. His name tag was blank. Would you like the special? He asked. His voice was hollow, like it echoed from somewhere far away. I glanced at the menu, my stomach tightening. There were no prices, no descriptions, just a single word under each category. Meat, wine, dessert. Samantha cleared her throat. What exactly is the special? The waiter's lips curved, but his eyes remained void of expression. A meal crafted just for you, something you'll savor forever. I didn't like the way he said that. I forced a chuckle. We'll just have 2 glasses of wine to start. The waiter nodded once and disappeared. I glanced around the room. The other diners hadn't moved. They sat stiffly, faces unreadable in the flickering candlelight. The clinking of silverware echoed too perfectly, rhythmic and synchronized, as if everyone was eating in unison. Samantha leaned in, whispering, "Are you noticing this?" I swallowed hard. Yeah. The waiter returned, setting down 2 glasses of deep red wine. The liquid was thick, almost syrupy. When I took a hesitant sip, a metallic taste clung to my tongue. My stomach twisted. I think we should go. Samantha nodded quickly, her unease matching mine. We stood up, reaching for our coats, but the maitre d' was suddenly there, blocking the exit. Leaving so soon? He asked, his voice smooth but wrong, like a needle dragging across a record. The night has just begun. I hesitated, glancing back at the dining room. The other guests had stopped eating. Their heads turned toward us in unison, their faces finally visible in the candlelight. My breath caught in my throat. Their eyes were empty, not just dark, hollow, gaping voids where pupils should have been. Samantha grabbed my wrist, nails digging into my skin. We need to leave, now. I nodded, stepping forward. Excuse us, but we're leaving. The maitre d' didn't move. Instead, he tilted his head slightly, like he was amused. But the dinner isn't over. The lights flickered. A gust of cold air swept through the room, extinguishing several candles. The darkness felt alive, pressing against us, whispering. Then the doors behind him vanished. My heart stopped. Where there had been a wooden exit leading to the foyer, there was now only a smooth, unbroken wall. Samantha let out a sharp breath, her grip tightening. What the hell is going on? I turned back to the dining room, but the guests were gone. The tables were empty, plates still full, glasses still half raised, like the people had been there just moments ago. The waiter reappeared beside us, his smile stretched too wide. Perhaps you're not hungry, he said, but you will be. The candles burned lower, their flames twisting unnaturally, casting grotesque shadows along the walls. My mind screamed at me to run, but where? There was no exit, no windows, just us and them. A deep, guttural sound rumbled through the air. It wasn't coming from a person, it was coming from the walls. The restaurant was breathing. Samantha let out a strangled cry. We need to find another way out. I grabbed her hand, dragging her toward the back of the dining room. There had to be a kitchen, a service exit, something. The waiter and maitre d' watched us without moving, their faces blurred, shifting, like their features couldn't hold their shape. The deeper we ran into the restaurant, the more the walls seemed to close in, the ceiling pressing lower. Then we saw it, a single rusted door at the end of the hallway. I lunged for the handle, twisting it hard. It didn't budge. Behind us, footsteps echoed, slow and deliberate. Samantha pounded on the door. "Help! Someone help us!" A voice whispered in my ear, close enough that I felt the breath against my skin. "You've already been here before." My blood turned to ice. The memories came crashing down, violent and suffocating. Samantha's scream, the sharp pain, the overwhelming darkness. I staggered back, my head spinning. The restaurant, the flickering candlelight, the empty tables, it was all too familiar, because I had been here before, and I had never left. I turned to Samantha, my voice shaking. "We're not supposed to be here." Her eyes widened, and I knew she remembered too. The dinner, the ending, the waiter, the maitre d', the guests. They weren't alive. Neither were we. The walls pulsed, the shadows swallowing the last remnants of light. And then the candles blew out. Story number 6. My ex won't stop calling from her grave. The first call came at 11:57 p.m. I was half asleep, barely registering the vibration on my nightstand. I squinted at the screen, my vision still blurry. Unknown caller. I almost ignored it, but something made me pick up. For a few seconds, there was nothing but silence. Then a familiar voice whispered, "Why did you forget me?" My breath caught in my throat. I knew that voice. I knew it too well. It was Sophie, my ex, the girl I had loved, the girl who had died 6 months ago. I sat up so fast my head spun. "Who is this?" My voice came out shaky. The line crackled. A low static buzzed in my ear. Then she spoke again, her voice softer this time. "You promised you wouldn't move on." A chill ran down my spine. My hands were clammy, my heart hammering against my ribs. This wasn't possible. Sophie was gone. I had been at her funeral, watched as they lowered her casket into the ground. I swallowed hard. This isn't funny. The line went dead.
For the next hour, I sat in bed, staring at my phone, my skin crawling. Maybe it was a prank, some sick joke from an unknown number. But who would do that? And how did they know her voice? The next night, the call came again. 11:57 p.m. Unknown caller. I hesitated before answering. My voice was hoarse. "Who is this?" Static filled the silence. Then a soft, distorted chuckle. "You don't sound happy to hear from me." A wave of nausea hit me. My fingers tightened around the phone. "You're not Sophie." A long pause, then the whisper came again, closer this time. "Come see me." I ended the call, my hands shaking. I checked the call log. No number. No record of the call ever happening. I didn't sleep that night. By the third night, I was losing my mind. I spent hours researching phone spoofing, voice manipulation, anything that could explain this. But nothing made sense. At exactly 11:57 p.m., my phone rang again. My body tensed as I picked up. "You're not real," I said through gritted teeth. The voice on the other end sighed, almost hurt. "I waited for you," she whispered. "You never came." A sharp pain throbbed in my head. I squeezed my eyes shut. "Came where?" Silence. Then, a sound that made my blood run cold. Dirt, shifting, scraping. The unmistakable noise of soil being moved. "Come see me," she repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm waiting." The call ended. I don't remember getting dressed. I don't remember grabbing my keys. All I know is that I drove. My hands clenched the wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. The roads were empty, the night stretching out in endless darkness. The cemetery gates were open when I arrived. I knew exactly where to go. Sophie's grave was near the old oak tree, the one where we used to sit for hours, talking about everything and nothing. I stopped short when I saw it, her grave. The dirt was freshly disturbed. A cold sweat broke across my skin. My breath came in ragged gasps as I stepped closer. The soil was loose, as if someone had dug it up. My stomach churned. Then my phone buzzed. I looked down, my fingers shaking as I lifted it. Unknown caller. I turned, heart pounding, scanning the empty cemetery. The air was heavy, thick with something unseen. The wind barely moved. I pressed the phone to my ear. I didn't speak, neither did she, but I heard breathing, slow, shallow, like something just beneath the surface. Then the whisper. "I'm right behind you." I spun around so fast I nearly tripped. My flashlight cut through the darkness, illuminating rows of silent headstones, empty. Then I heard it, a rustling from the disturbed grave, a deep groaning sound, like something heavy shifting beneath the dirt. I stepped back, my breath coming in short gasps. "No," I whispered. "This isn't real." A single hand broke through the soil. I stumbled backward, my mind screaming at me to run, but my body wouldn't move. My legs felt like lead. The hand twitched, fingers curling, nails caked with earth. Then another hand, then a face. Sophie. Her skin was pale, lips cracked, eyes open but unfocused. Dirt clung to her hair, her dress, and yet she was moving. She turned her head toward me and smiled. Terror surged through me. I choked on a scream, finally finding the strength to turn and run. My feet pounded against the cold ground, my pulse roaring in my ears. The cemetery was too quiet. The wind had stopped. The world had narrowed to just me and her. I reached my car, fumbling with the keys, but my hands wouldn't stop shaking. I dropped them, cursed, bent down to grab them, and heard footsteps behind me, slow, dragging. "Why are you running?" The voice was right behind me now, too close, too wrong. I forced myself to look. She stood there, her head tilted slightly, her dead eyes locked onto mine. A deep, unnatural smile stretched across her face. "You said you'd love me forever." My breath hitched. I yanked the car door open, scrambled inside, and locked it. My fingers fumbled to start the engine. The headlights flared to life. But she was gone. The cemetery was empty. For a moment I thought it was over, that I had imagined everything. Then my phone buzzed. My stomach twisted as I looked at the screen. A new photo of me, standing outside my car, and behind me, a shadow. I floored the gas, tires screeching against the pavement as I sped away. I didn't look back. I drove until the sky started to lighten, until my hands stopped shaking, until the air finally felt normal again. I threw my phone into a river the next morning. I moved to a new apartment across town, changed my number. For a while, things were quiet. Until last night, 11:57 p.m., a single text from an unknown number. "You can't ignore me forever." Story number 7. The box of chocolates that ate me. When I found the heart-shaped box of chocolates on my doorstep, I assumed it was a mistake. No name, no note, just a perfectly wrapped red velvet box with a golden ribbon. It wasn't from my boyfriend. He had been away for 2 weeks. My friends weren't the type to leave surprises, and I definitely hadn't ordered it myself. But curiosity got the best of me. I took it inside, placed it on the kitchen counter, and hesitated before untying the ribbon. Something about it felt wrong. The chocolates inside were glossy, almost too perfect, arranged in neat rows. But as I looked closer, my stomach tightened. Each chocolate had something carved into it. Names. I leaned in, running my fingers over the surface of one. The letters were precise, almost as if they had been branded onto the chocolate itself. Some names I didn't recognize. Others sent a chill down my spine. One of them was mine. I felt a sudden urge to throw the box away, but a strange hunger clawed at my stomach. It wasn't normal hunger. It was deep, gnawing, like something inside me needed to eat one. My fingers twitched toward the piece with my name on it, but at the last second I grabbed a different one. The second it touched my tongue, something inside me twisted. The taste was rich, overwhelming, but not in a good way. It was wrong, too bitter, too thick, as if it wasn't meant to be eaten at all. I forced myself to swallow, my throat tightening. A sharp pain exploded in my chest. I gasped, clutching my stomach as an unbearable burning sensation spread through my veins. My vision blurred, my knees buckling beneath me. I tried to move, but my limbs felt heavy, like something was pressing me down. My heartbeat pounded in my ears, too fast, too erratic. Then I felt it, something inside me. It was small at first, a strange wriggling beneath my skin, but then it spread, crawling, twisting. I staggered to the sink, gripping the counter so hard my nails dug into the wood. My reflection in the window was pale, eyes wide with horror. Something was moving under my skin. I yanked my sleeve up, and my breath caught in my throat. Tiny, dark veins spread across my arm, pulsing, writhing, as if something alive was beneath them. A choked scream tore from my lips. I grabbed a knife from the counter, desperate, panicked. I had to get it out. The blade hovered over my skin, my hand shaking so badly I could barely hold it steady. But before I could make a cut, the pain vanished. I sucked in a shaky breath, staring at my arm. The veins were gone. The crawling sensation had disappeared. I touched my skin, half expecting it to burst open, but it was normal. My heartbeat slowed, confusion washing over me. Had I imagined it? Was it a hallucination? Maybe I had reacted badly to the chocolate, maybe. A sharp knock at the door made me jump. My stomach twisted as I turned toward it. Through the peephole, the hallway was empty, but another knock came, closer, inside the apartment. I spun around, my breath caught in my throat. The box of chocolates sat untouched on the counter, but the chocolates, they were different now. Some of the names were gone. The spaces where they had been were now empty, except for one. Mine. The chocolate with my name had changed. The letters had deepened, sinking into the surface. And something inside it shifted, a slow, sickening movement beneath the shell. My pulse pounded. I grabbed the box, shoving it toward the trash, but the second my fingers touched it, a voice whispered behind me, "You're next." I whirled around, heart slamming against my ribs. There was no one there. The apartment was silent, still. My breath came in short, uneven gasps. I tried to tell myself it was in my head, but I knew better. My phone buzzed, a single notification. Unknown number. Eat it. A cold sweat broke across my skin. My hands shook as I typed back, "Who is this?" No response. I grabbed my jacket, my keys, and bolted out the door. The air outside was thick with cold, but I barely felt it. I needed to get away. But as I turned the corner, my body locked in place. A man stood across the street, motionless, watching me. He was tall, his face shrouded in darkness, but I could see the faintest glint of something in his hands. Another heart-shaped box. He lifted it slowly, almost as if offering it to me. My stomach churned. I backed away, but my feet felt heavy, like the pavement itself was holding me down. My phone buzzed again. "You've already started? Finish it." A sharp pain shot through my stomach. I doubled over, a strangled gasp escaping my lips. The crawling sensation was back, stronger, spreading through my ribs, my spine, my skull. My vision swam. I fell to my knees. The man across the street didn't move. He just stood there silent, waiting. I clawed at my skin, trying to stop whatever was happening inside me. But it was too late. My hand sank into my flesh as if it were soft, pliable. The last thing I saw before everything went dark was my reflection in a puddle. My face, my mouth, stretching open too wide, and the thing inside me finally crawling free. Story number 8. The Whispering Valentine Card. The Valentine's card appeared in my locker on the morning of February 14th. I hadn't expected anything, not this year, not after everything that had happened. My ex, Rachel, had been gone for almost a year now. A car accident, one that left me with scars I couldn't see but could still feel every night. So when I saw the red envelope resting between my textbooks, my stomach twisted. There was no name on the front, no indication of who had left it. Just my name, written in looping, delicate cursive. My fingers hesitated before picking it up. The paper was soft, almost velvety, cold. I tore the seal open and pulled out the card. The front was simple. A heart cracked down the middle. I flipped it open, expecting some generic message. Instead, I froze. "I've missed you." The handwriting was painfully familiar. My breath caught in my throat. My fingers tightened around the edges of the card. It was Rachel's. I read it again, my mind refusing to accept it. It wasn't possible. Rachel was dead. I had been at her funeral. I had watched them lower her into the ground, had heard the sound of earth hitting the coffin. A sharp noise broke through the silence, a whisper. My eyes darted around the empty hallway. It had been faint, like someone murmuring just beyond my hearing. I swallowed hard and turned back to the card. A new sentence had appeared. "Why did you let me go?" The ink was fresh, as if someone had just written it. My breath turned shallow. My hands started shaking. The air around me felt heavier, pressing against my skin. I shoved the card back into the envelope and slammed my locker shut, my pulse hammering in my ears. This was a prank. It had to be. Someone knew about Rachel and thought this was funny. But why did the handwriting match hers so perfectly? I skipped my next class and went straight home. The card burned in my pocket the entire way, like a weight pressing against me. When I got inside, I locked the door and sat on my bed, staring at it. I shouldn't have opened it again. The moment I did, the whispering started, not just a sound, words. I never wanted to leave. The voice was soft, fragile, but it came from the card. The words hadn't been there before. My vision blurred. My hands went clammy. I dropped it onto the bed, stepping back as if it might come to life. Then the whispering grew louder. The room dimmed. The air grew thick. My breath came in sharp gasps. The card lay open, but the words kept changing, twisting as if an unseen hand was writing them right in front of me. "You never visited me." I shook my head. "No," I whispered. "This isn't real." But the words wouldn't stop. "You forgot me." Tears burned in my eyes. I didn't. I couldn't. The whispering stopped. Silence stretched through the room. Then, footsteps. Soft, slow, coming from the hallway outside my bedroom. My entire body stiffened. I wasn't alone. I turned, my breath locked in my throat. The door was closed, but shadows stretched underneath it, not one but two. I took a step back, barely able to breathe, my hands clenched into fists. The doorknob turned, a sharp clicking sound, slow, deliberate. I grabbed the card, my chest heaving. "Stop it," I choked out. "Just stop." Everything went still. Then the final words appeared on the card. "I'm outside." A soft knock came from my window. I froze, my blood ran cold. I turned, my legs trembling. The curtains were shut, but I could see it, a shadow pressed against the fabric. Too still, too tall. I couldn't move. Then the whisper came again. "I want to see you." The whisper didn't come from the window, it came from behind me. A warm breath brushed against my ear. I turned, heart slamming against my ribs, and the lights went out. Story number 9. A table for two. But I was alone. Valentine's night was supposed to be special. I had made the reservation 2 weeks in advance, booked a table at the nicest restaurant in town, and even planned a little surprise for my girlfriend, Lily. We had been together for almost a year, and tonight was supposed to be perfect. When I arrived at the restaurant, the hostess greeted me with a warm smile. "A table for two?" she asked. I nodded, adjusting the sleeve of my jacket. "Yes, under the name Daniel." She scanned the list, then her expression shifted slightly. Her smile wavered. "Ah, yes. Your table is ready. Your date is already waiting." I frowned. That wasn't possible. Lily had texted me just 10 minutes ago saying she was still on her way. Maybe she had gotten here earlier and was just messing with me. It wouldn't be the first time. The hostess led me to a small, intimate table near the window. Candlelight flickered across the polished wood, the restaurant buzzing softly with murmured conversations and the clinking of silverware. But as I pulled out my chair, my stomach twisted. The chair across from me was empty. I glanced at the hostess, confused. "You said my date was here?" She looked at me strangely, then gestured toward the chair. "She is." A strange chill crawled up my spine. "No, she's not." I forced a small laugh, waiting for her to realize the mistake. The hostess hesitated, her brows knitting together. Then, as if she had decided something, she nodded once. "Of course. Let me know if you need anything." She walked away quickly, disappearing into the dimly lit dining room. I pulled out my phone, checking my messages. No new texts. Something about the whole thing felt wrong. The air seemed heavier. The restaurant felt quieter than it should have been, the laughter and chatter around me oddly distant. Then the waiter arrived, a tall man in a crisp black uniform, his eyes dark and unreadable. "Good evening," he said, placing 2 menus on the table. "Can I start you both off with something to drink?" I blinked. "Both?" He tilted his head slightly as if I had said something strange. "Yes, sir. Would your date like the same wine as you?" I stared at him. "There's no one here." The words felt wrong in my mouth, as if speaking them out loud was inviting something I couldn't understand. The waiter's expression didn't change. He simply nodded and said, "Very well," before turning and walking away. A shiver ran through me. I looked around, searching for Lily. Maybe she'd arrived and was at the wrong table. Maybe this was some elaborate joke. I opened our messages, about to text her, when a notification appeared. New message. Lily. I clicked on it. "Why aren't you talking to me?" My breath caught in my throat. My fingers trembled as I typed back, "Where are you?" The typing bubble appeared. Then, "I'm right here." A sharp, cold pressure settled in my chest. I slowly lifted my head. The chair across from me was still empty. The candle flickered. The air in the restaurant suddenly felt too still. The noises around me dulled, like I was sinking underwater. A shadow moved at the edge of my vision. I turned sharply, but there was nothing. Just the dimly lit restaurant, the soft hum of distant conversations. But I felt it now. A presence. Something unseen, watching me. I typed another message, my fingers stiff. "This isn't funny. Where are you?" A reply came instantly. "I told you. I'm right here." A deep, primal fear rooted itself in my stomach. My breaths came shallow. I wanted to leave, to get up and run, but something kept me frozen in place. Then the waiter returned, carrying 2 plates. He placed one in front of me, then, without hesitation, set the second plate across the table. The empty table. I swallowed hard. "Who's that for?" The waiter's face remained unreadable. "Your date, sir." I gripped the edge of the table. "There's no one there." The waiter's expression didn't flicker. He turned slightly, as if acknowledging something beside me. Then he smiled. "Yes, there is." My body went ice cold. A whisper brushed against my ear, so close I felt the warmth of breath that wasn't there. I was waiting for you. I snapped my head toward the voice, my chair scraping loudly against the floor as I pushed back. The space across from me was not empty anymore. Lily sat there, but not the Lily I knew. Her skin was too pale, her eyes hollow and dark, her lips curled into a smile that didn't belong to her. She tilted her head, watching me. "I missed you," she whispered. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. Then just as suddenly she was gone. The chair was empty again. The restaurant around me snapped back to normal. The clinking of glasses, the soft music, the murmur of voices. I looked around wildly, my breath coming in sharp, ragged gasps. Nobody was staring at me. No one had noticed anything. I stumbled to my feet, throwing cash onto the table before shoving my way through the restaurant. The hostess barely glanced up as I rushed out into the cold night air. My hands trembled as I pulled out my phone. I opened Lily's messages, desperate for an explanation. The conversation thread was empty. No texts, no messages, nothing. As if she had never sent them, as if she had never existed. I wanted to believe I imagined it, that my mind had played some cruel trick on me. But as I unlocked my car and slid into the driver's seat, something caught my eye. A single plate of untouched food sat neatly on the passenger seat, and beside it a folded napkin with Lily's handwriting. "See you next Valentine's."
Story number 10. She left me her heart. Literally. I woke up to a small, neatly wrapped box on my nightstand. The red ribbon was tied into a perfect bow, the paper crisp and smooth, as if it had just been placed there. The problem was, I lived alone. My stomach twisted as I sat up, staring at it. I hadn't gone to bed drunk. I hadn't let anyone in. The apartment was locked, the windows shut. My mind raced through possibilities, but none of them made sense. I reached for my phone, checking my messages. Nothing, no missed calls, no texts, just silence. Then I noticed the note, a small card, placed delicately on top of the box. "Happy Valentine's Day, my love. I wanted to give you something special, something no one else ever will." The handwriting was delicate, slanted in a way that made my skin crawl. My pulse pounded against my temples as I picked it up. There was no signature. My hands were clammy as I reached for the box, slowly untying the ribbon. The moment I peeled back the lid, my stomach lurched. Inside, resting on a velvet cushion, was a human heart. I shoved the box away, my breath coming in short gasps. The organ was deep red, slick with something dark and sticky. It was fresh. My vision blurred. I stumbled back, knocking over a glass of water on my nightstand. My mind screamed at me to run, to call someone, but my hands wouldn't stop shaking. I forced myself to take a step closer, my stomach twisting. Then I saw the stitching. Thin, neat black threads ran along the edges, holding the heart together, as if it had been removed carefully, as if it had been prepared. A sickening realization hit me. It wasn't just a heart. It had been gift-wrapped. My phone buzzed. A single message from an unknown number. "Do you like it?" I felt like I was going to be sick. My fingers hovered over the screen, barely able to type. "Who is this?" The 3 dots appeared immediately. "Don't you recognize it?" I swallowed hard, bile rising in my throat. My hands trembled as I looked back at the heart. The stitching, the size, the unnatural care that had gone into preserving it. I typed back, "Whose heart is this?" The reply came almost instantly. "Mine." A chill raced down my spine. My entire body seized up, my breath caught in my throat. My mind screamed at me to not believe it, to dismiss it as a cruel joke, but something about it felt too real. My phone buzzed again. "I gave it to you because you never really saw me, did you?" I stood frozen, the words burning into my brain. Never saw me. A memory clawed its way to the surface. A girl, pale hands, dark eyes filled with something desperate, something obsessive. A conversation I had forgotten. Or maybe one I had chosen to forget. Her name was Claire. We had dated briefly, if you could even call it that. She had been intense, too intense. Every message was filled with need,
With love, I couldn't return. When I told her it wasn't working, she didn't cry. She didn't get angry. She just smiled. "You'll regret this," she had whispered. "One day you'll see how much I loved you." That was over a year ago. I hadn't heard from her since. I assumed she had moved on. But now, this box, this heart. My phone buzzed again. "Now you'll always have a part of me." The air in my apartment felt heavy, thick, like something unseen was pressing against my skin. I backed away from the nightstand, my eyes locked on the box as if it might move. Then, knocking, software rhythmic, coming from my front door. I couldn't move. My entire body was paralyzed with fear. I knew who it would be. The knocking came again. Then a whisper, muffled through the wood. "Aren't you going to thank me?" I turned and ran. I didn't grab my phone. I didn't look back. I yanked open my bedroom window and climbed down the fire escape, my hands slick with sweat. The cold night air bit at my skin. But I didn't stop. I didn't dare stop. By the time I reached my car, my heart was pounding so hard I thought it would burst from my chest. I locked the doors, my breath ragged, my hands gripping the wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. I looked up at my apartment. The curtains in my bedroom window had been pulled open, and standing there, bathed in the pale glow of the street lamp, was Claire. Her skin was pale, her dark eyes locked onto mine. She raised a hand, pressing it against the glass. Even from the distance I could see the stitches running up her wrist. She smiled and mouthed, "I love you." I slammed my foot on the gas, tires screeching against the pavement. I drove. I didn't know where I was going, but I didn't care. My breath came in short, desperate gasps. My vision blurred. My thoughts raced in a loop. By the time I stopped, I was miles away, parked in an empty lot. Hands shaking, I reached for my phone, ready to call someone. Anyone. But there was already a new message waiting. "You can run, my love, but your heart already belongs to me." I dropped the phone, and in the silence, over the sound of my own pounding heart, I felt it. A slow, rhythmic thump inside my chest, but not mine. If you made it this far, you're brave enough to handle the horrors that lurk in the dark. But tell me, have you ever experienced something chilling, something unexplainable? Share your horror stories in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss what's coming next. There are more terrifying tales waiting for you. Go ahead and watch the videos appearing on your screen if you dare.